Hello ghouls, poltergeists, and the like, and welcome you all to today's video. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? You guys are probably wondering where the heck I've been. Well, I've had horrible writer's block, and that mixed with me not having the motivation to make storytime animations, well, trust me, it didn't go over well. I tried, I'd get a script done, and I'd start animating, but I just couldn't get a video finished no matter how hard I tried. So while I have been trying to make a storytime, it's mainly just gone over horribly. Through trial and error, I figured out that storytime animation just isn't for me, and so I'm going back to my roots of storytelling. Those of you who have seen my old channel know what I'm talking about. My passion for drawing and telling a good scary story has remained intact, and so I figured it'd be best for me and my channel to just stick to that. Stay tuned until the end of this video for a sneak peek of my next podcast episode. And now, without further ado, on to the stories. This week I have 4 supposedly true scary stories of haunted houses. I hope you enjoy. The first 3 stories, called The Growl, are from TX Grizzly. They tell of how their sister unintentionally invited a spirit into their home, and strange things have been happening ever since. Before I start, I just want to say everything I'm about to say is 100% real and really happened to me. I have many creepy stories growing up in my mom and dad's home. So let's start. Pretty much it all started when my sister really got into playing the Ouija board. She played it so much and so often, she would play alone, and it moved very well with her. I played time to time with her, but she mostly liked playing alone with the Ouija board. I was 10 at the time, and my sister was 15 at the time. So one night, my sister invited the neighbor over to spend the night, and of course she wanted to use the Ouija board. My sister was getting bored with the board's responses this time, and started telling the board to prove itself, and show us a sign that it's strong. She began telling it to move, something, or make a noise. My sister then began getting agitated, since nothing was happening, and started cursing at the board to do something. At that point, the planchette, a heart-shaped piece of plastic, stopped moving and everything went extremely quiet. So my sister decided to put the Ouija board up, and as she was doing it, there were 6 light taps at the door. And my sister then said, "Come in!" They were greeted with only silence. My sister figured it was nothing and carried on with another activity. 2 minutes later, there were another 6 knocks, but this time they were knocks and no longer taps. At that point, my sister thought it was their older sister Angie and says, "Angie, come in!" But yet again, they were greeted with silence. By this time, my sister's friend was really starting to freak out and was getting very scared. When my sister stopped to check the door, she was stopped in her tracks by yet again 6 more knocks. But this time they were loud bangs, not normal knocks. And exactly 6 yet again. At this point, my sister ran to the door and opened it quickly, finding there was no one there. Her friend ran out of the room crying. She ran straight to my mother, asking her to pray over her because she was now shaking from the terror she had encountered. After this event, things were never the same in my home. As time went by, I heard and saw and felt many different things. My sisters and brothers all moved out at an early age, and my sister Brenda, the one that loved playing with the Ouija board, moved out 2 years later, which left me, the youngest, at home alone with my parents. Story number 2. One night my brother decided to come over for a visit, and when he walked through the door, he kept looking towards the living room while saying hello to myself and our mother. Then, as my mom was talking, he said, "Oh, I didn't know y'all were busy. I see y'all have company." My mother and I looked at each other with confusion and asked what he was talking about, and he replied, "I saw a tall man pacing back and forth wearing a hat dressed in all black in the living room." My mother and I are, at this point, very scared and walked to the living room only to find no one there. Story number 3. One of the scariest things that ever happened took place one hot summer night. I was hungry, so I decided to get a bowl of cereal. After I was done, I went to the kitchen to wash my bowl and heard someone walking right outside the kitchen window. The leaves crunching under the feet of someone walking, so I started to lean over the sink to look out the window and saw nothing. At that point, I hear the deepest, low-pitched growl right at my ankle. It was so loud and felt so close, I swear I felt its breathing on the hairs of my leg. The first thing that popped into my mind was that this animal was going to bite me, and so I jumped as high as I could and landed on the countertop. I looked down, searching for the beast that made this horrific growl, but yet again I was greeted by nothing. I refused to get off the countertop until I found whatever made the growl, and as I looked around the kitchen, looking for whatever had made the growl, for some reason my eyes were drawn to the back door near the living room. I kept staring for some reason, not even knowing why, but I couldn't look away. Then in an instant, the curtain from above the door was yanked off the wall really hard. I wasted no more time and ran to my mom and dad's room, telling them what had happened. I have now since moved out, leaving only my mother and father at home. To this day, my mother and father still hear and see weird things that give them chills. Story number 4. Our 4th and final story for the day is called The Thing That Watched My Sister, and was submitted by Boo Zombie. This story tells of their sister and the rest of their siblings being followed by an eerie, otherworldly being. For context, I'm a girl from a 4-child broken home. My siblings are all older than me, and after the divorce, all 3 of them got heavily into drugs. Throughout my life, I have always been more than sensitive to the paranormal. From the ghost in my closet as a child to whatever thing scared the crap out of my cat in the basement when I was 14. If it was in my house, I knew about it. But somewhere along the way, I began to notice something else following my siblings. It was a dark shadow, for the most part, hanging behind corners when my siblings entered rooms and following them out when they left. It lessened its presence when my mom got enough money to send my 2 eldest siblings off to rehab for their problem. Around when I was 15 or so, my closest sister in age was getting heavily addicted to heroin, but I didn't know that until a week after the event. She was sitting at the kitchen table while I was cooking dinner. I turned to grab the salad out of the fridge, and as I turned, I glanced at my sister. It was just a quick glance, but I finally saw it, and it wasn't a shadow this time. It was this hollow-eyed girl, no mouth, with sickly gray skin and black draping hair. It was sitting right next to my sister and was just staring at her. Its nose couldn't have been more than an inch away from her, just staring in rapt attention. I screamed, dropping the bowl in my hands. My sister jumped and looked at me like I was crazy, but I had never seen anything like that before. I was shaken to my core. I told her what I saw, and she laughed and joked, "Damn, maybe you just foresaw my death." My sister ended the conversation with that. We ate dinner and didn't talk about it again, until a week later. I woke up around 2 or 3 in the morning for no reason. At first, I was irritated because I had school in a few hours and didn't want to lose any sleep. But then I looked over to my sister's bed to see she wasn't there. It was normal for her to sneak out as a hell-raising 17-year-old, but she wasn't normally out this late. When I looked around, I thought I saw her pacing the hallway, so I went back to sleep. The next morning, my mother was crying, and I found my sister never came home that night. My other 2 siblings were in rehab, so it couldn't have been them pacing the hallway. I remember feeling a shiver up my spine as my mom began calling hospitals to see if she got checked in before we could call the police. I found my sister a few days later. She had somehow gotten locked to a windowless room in an abandoned building downtown while high on heroin. Her friends hadn't even remembered she was with them when they had headed home. She had gone through hell or withdrawal while alone in that room without food, water, or medical attention. It was a miracle she was even alive after 2 days in that room. She regained herself enough to call the personal line of a police officer that had gotten close to the family. They got her to a hospital and stabilized her, and after that she never touched any sort of drugs again. And I also never saw that thing again. The shadow never returned. I don't know if it was the physical representation of her addiction, a demon, a reaper, or even some kind of guardian angel, but whatever it was, I don't care. I'm just glad it never had to come back. I'm sure glad my house isn't haunted. Then again, I suppose it'd be interesting. And now, as I promised earlier, here is the teaser to my next podcast episode. A horrible disease that scientists are now calling deprivatio is ripping through the United States. It is recommended that you stay inside and that you do not leave your house under any circumstances. So far, it is unknown what has started the epidemic, but we do know the effects and how it spreads. By some miracle, scientists were able to get hold of one of the creatures. These creatures are the direct result of the disease. There is a total of 6 stages we've been able to determine thus far. First stage starts with the occasional ringing in your ears, followed by migraines, bloodshot eyes, and nosebleeds. The second stage starts out as a small blister which can appear in any area of the skin. This blister then administers a toxin that spreads throughout the bloodstream. During the third stage, patches of your skin around the blister begin to change. Your skin will first begin to peel off until every inch of your body is covered in raw skin. Blood then seeps out through the raw skin, forming a coat of blood over your body. Once this has happened, you progress into the fourth stage, where the blood fuses with the skin and then hardens. After this, your skin can't be broken easily, if at all. Then your teeth and nails fall out, soon replaced by razor-sharp wolf-like canines and claws. By the fifth stage, the toxin will then soon start to eat away at your cerebrum, causing you to not be able to think rationally. You will then start to see delusions as the toxin then works to change the makeup of your brain. And once the sixth and final stage has occurred, you will be completely lost, a mere shell of the person you used to be. You won't remember anyone or anything from your past life. The only thing you will feel is the everlasting hunger that can never be satisfied. Scientists think that this hunger is the disease's way of spreading. Since the carrier has the disease in their saliva, an open wound will, without question, lead to infection. The only weakness the scientists have found so far is sunlight. However, this weakness only causes them to be nocturnal since the sunlight burns their eyes. The reason for this is that our eyes were left damaged from the third and fourth stages. Thank you for listening to this broadcast. May the gods be with you. The next episode, whenever I am able to finish it, will take place in the United States where this disease has broken out. It will be from the point of view of a 19-year-old girl that was left alone with her younger sister. She has no idea whether or not her parents are dead or worse, infected. Her only hope is to make it to a rumored safe house that is a 2 days walk from her home. But with the creatures roaming about, will she be able to make it safely to the safe house? Tune in next time. Until then, I can't wait to see you. Well, that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and don't forget to leave the lights on tonight. You never know what lurks in the darkness.